Yonkodo ewo jumedi lai so and the 10th of July 2022 we are made a day achen na said na otwi many atwam no ye ne mame anasa lawyer Joyce atajemfi ehiem no ewo the challenges on acquisition and registration of land in Ghana no and then so ye ba beto aso na ansana no medical seminar ina ye liar ye de basu na ya hwe ne ya mute se de be ya na media de so kwa awie ya nsembisa na fe emu ahodo bebe na aso no awie mudi na ansana ebobo mpai ye feed mede na aso no salama kam so Yonkodoradio ewo lie so se de da oye no si awie no pesa wo san tie bi ma wetu akọ YouTube na afi wakọ akotie na de wo mbia aso no this my message the number beba so na afi no obi wa se mi se bi echi no obetimo afre no personal na wona ne bakasa ade cha hombra se mo ma yembre yakoma ase na bompai pa mecho ya bompai ye yankopon ade ina asetumfo ye dawase ye kamfo yi wa ye hyewa numiyam adom na nhira wo de agu ye so ina anopa wie so ye dawase akwanya wo de amaye yede wase waba wa nine mes we na ma so bekasa nkyeranye na afi ne fa so cheche nsema ekoso ye mam Ghana wasase ho esomo yame we yiso ne hu bi afiri mu na we hwe mu konkon agu no so se de be ya ye be firi mu bebe bia no e be fi we awurade na aboye wo wiase yasekyere mu adofo na anuan ma sabe se ye ne mu hyala isu ni na no ye de o mi na hyew so se yehu a o mi na be kan yansa na afi ye nti adesua we amfense ntwa maya enche no yeda was emi se bibi ho ese wako a mesenement mi anka so sofani na afa ya adom ne nhira nfagu yeso yeda was emi se wetie ye mpaebo Kristo Yesu di menti amen
amen amen
adofo no mo se de meka no medical sem se mumma ye na ya botre na afi no enche nsema ebe na asemese bi ewachi no ya de abana fa de so awie mode yo mame ende meja ho me mama ye sewade se onka ho na dominti amen
amen amen
amen
Penny Cote Kingsley Cote midamasi bebre Queens SDA say mama ho kwan na eneso ma kam ho ewo nhwemu a moye ndey ho me say enene na wotwe anane 2 weeks ago no ye di nkita ho kakra ewo se na obe akwa asase ehu me say asa edosu nana minim kwa process nka menya mumre kakra nka ye timi chiche mu be say 2 weeks for each of the discussions but sana me kai no sese ya be abusua nti anytime ye pese ye discussion bia na mo pese e bia mo bobo ansem bi ho won sasensem ho a mo frɛ me a metini eden e beba nti e bia omo mamba last week now just do just a very very quick recap and then na me pese na ye ka ho asem kakra ye will my topic now which will be put on the screen is preparing wills for posterity. Let me say a subject to be very interesting. In me na watch ya. Me say me be mu biom na time a penifo ma me hu time e ma mo no na yetimi ya eden bia yetimi edi hu nkomo a in terms of last week no she say na ye no say me ka kire mo say mpempi no e baba mu ye beje asase a eya na yetimi hu se mo de mo akwantu mu o we or US or UK or say intina nkofo the pressure to so nso e bia na wo ye no botai se wo ko Ghana yi we de obebo modern bia wa pisika kakra obebo modern se ko ye den okwa akoye obepese obepe asase enti eno ane wo botai enti ya wo se bia asate bi wo benkuma na nufe bi ana bebi opese okọ kaso akwanso se dodo wa o se buri kwanso na why then we fi ase edi hu nkutan enti enkofo timi enti na pressure da so osunya yanka obetimi awi ansa na wako enti me ka hye mo semu de yesa asase de na ehia pa wa asase mu ye site plan na mra so de when the mra ba say site plan no say omumienu ne friend approved plan eno ne de Ghana nyina say we ye plan na wo de be share document my friend approved plan eno nemo ankran potemu no the Greater Accra region there the law says say ye den barcoded plan eno na me say me kire mo na me kire mo say na barcode ne tete na wo kwa akoto ade wo ye ko mo ne akoto ade a etie pepepe eno ma adwuma no ko wawa wanya accurate site planner say na me say na yesu geography kakra e wo school longitude and latitude no etimi ma asase no koto benkum ana nifa enti ebi wo ho a bebi awugina na enye ho na asase ni describe enti me ka chamo say no dey very very important ye enye hwe wo discussions ni nyina akra we dey ye bomo dey enya wa pe wo land surveyor ohini no mpakuna oto no de ne dey ba wankasanya wo dey na fa ka ho na fa ko e me na be say bebi awugina say na 2 acres na pe 1 acre 1 plot to yetimi yi mautum so baby me pen e ho na ejina na enum na ebetimi nya accurate result of a search report e dey amount because a plan here wrong invariably in the report here the amount so be o wrong na asase for no e omunim entom do kojina asase so but the amount plan of another area enti ebecho so asembie nim e fe okwa your papers for lands na be a trace be a ban asase na bibisa enti me ka chemo say no de ehu hia pa na fe okwa search ni so na obehu wo search ni mu eno na me am here registrar me adwuma ho eno anso na me so me hwe ansa na enti me aka so asimesi panyi court de ye man land certificate ana say Mr. Tachemfide there be records nature so on timinya land certificate if you say ya buy asase and I say your honeyful fraud ya na ya madida all sorts of things that will come up into kwa search no patrobo modienya official search first no podi na ka ye search every office but say the lands commissioner ba continue search na the bomu kutu na say last week no made a copy of the search na chiremu ya sign a lands commission logo no also and then na no you so obi asase okwakoto no na for long wager da and for who no be beka chire o say na me explain here no a president of Ghana Krejina camp baby no ka say o asase nyina Biden in status so na so sign Biden be sign their mam and Biden their mam and no ye fe no political talk, excuse me to say. A bibia ede mraye no, emrane sign the sesam. Enti sa ban jeno and the executive instruments and I buy agent and nema buy person just as be or executive instrument. They say or the nitumia shall say me president as I see I just said the wager dam juma and I said could see school and it could see military camp be an abibisa. As I said buying through attorney general, assign your documents for the case. I see a G 100 acres. You assign a JFSM and as I buy assign a day ma and free bill and our family bill. It's in a near car said the best school, you find your bill. Say me lands officer na say me lawyer me lands me hu sa EI na ban aye na me ni ho kwan say me de me nsape kan san aban asase bia asmase na me ma mo mfatun say na esi wo baby am wo ma mo tai ko Ghana where they normally call New Boy Town and I say Abakala Pass, that's the popular name for it. The whole township there, nobody has got a legal document over the land because that place was acquired for the National Sports Complex acquisition. Although it is clear Ghana government cannot use it for the complex sports complex, it is clear that people are developed there because the executive instrument covering it has still not been revoked. In law, we say revoked, has not been changed. No? That is what is on the legal status. And everybody and anybody is debarred from doing any other thing on it. Say, if we get that understanding, you can see people building there, but please, unless you don't care about getting a document, you will not get a legal document. And that is what is going to make our discussions that we are going to have today relevant. Today, we are coming to talk about wills. And wills come up when there is a property. The saying is that where there is a property, there is a will. It doesn't matter the amount of money a person can have at the bank. Even some banks have a beneficiary on death. So sometimes banks have it that if you have an account with us, if per chance you die, and invariably you die, when you die, who should the money be given to? If there's a document at the bank that this money should go to your son or whoever's name is there, the bank will not wait for letters of administration or will or anything, a probate or anything. If you just come and you give the identity that, oh yes, I am Mr. Kwesi Mensah, the son of the late Mr. Mensah, and this is me, they verify this is you, they'll just let you take the whatever money is there. So we can see that no matter the amount of money a person has in an account, it still does not make wills relevant until there is what? Property, or there is land or houses involved. That is why I normally tie in the discussion of land acquisition with the discussion also on land, because we do all these, we acquire property, we thank God for the strength we get to acquire property, so that, God willing, after we have lived in the land, in the house and on the land, a farm donates, done business with it or whatever it is, we want to bequeath it to maybe our sons and our daughters or those we think should benefit from it. So a lot of that is why we all go about wills. And if you don't do a will, then it is the states that you are saying, manage my account, my property for me. So if you died in the US, it is the US law that will be applicable to your property in US. If you die and you have property in Ghana without a will, the LA will be done and things like that. And sometimes if there are issues coming up, it is the state that will determine that, well, it looks like the family of the late Mr. Mensah cannot agree on what has to be done. So we appoint the Administrator General to oversee his accounts. So what I'm trying to say is that whether you take steps to do a will or not, one way or the other, your assets will be managed. So it will be in the best interest that you yourself try and put up how it should be managed. How it should be managed, so that when it is managed, then it is like you're in the position now to know that, oh, okay, I decided that in my frame of mind, without duress, voluntarily, a clear understanding and appreciation of all that is around me, I am going to do my will. So upon that note, I will want to start the formal discussions on wills. And I think, as Mr. Kwoti said, my name is Joyce Atajemfi, the wife of Mr. Joseph Atajemfi. And Mr. Atajemfi Joseph. Na maye juma wo Lands Commission mfe bebre nie. Me say me ba be ka me kunu ene me ma ho wa hanti me resign ye finance. It's na me a lawyer na me say registrar e wo Lands Commission, Land Title Registry. It is an system sem de anye sem de hwa me ho se be ya na ntiase no e wo ho. Nti eno ho na me gina ho se o ne esua kakra no ye be ma nkofo so ehu. Obi be fa ba bi wo mu na ayeden aye inshra e de amano. Nti at the moment I run a small consultancy me dey adwuma kakra nti obi pese ho bibia, we'll put the money on the screen, and then if you want to have my service you can have it. So today basically discussion about on wills. Nti ye baby say introduction, why a will? Now what is a will? Now maka say where there is a property there is a will. But say ya to asase ni asidan ntino necessary the asase ma obi ana ye ho hihye. Nti ye beka no brofo mu kakra. What is a will? A will is a legal document. In Ghana, it is a legal document because the law prescribes exactly how you should do it, where you should put it, and how it will be administered. A little difference with it with the American system is that for them, you can choose to put your will in your own drawer, so that when you pass on, so long as you've written that this is the will of Mr. Mensah, it will be accepted by the court and dealt appropriately. But Ghana, you must deposit it in a registry, the High Court. Here too, I can see that some counties make it a requirement that, well, you can deposit your will at the registry, but it is not a specific law binding everybody that you must put your will in a county registry. But in Ghana, it is part of the law. So it is a legal document that a person expresses whilst alive, how when he dies, at the time of making the will, at the time of death, and after his or her death, how his or her property should be shared. So you can have property whilst you are making the will, maybe when you are 40 years old or 50. at the time of death, when you are 80 years old, the property you may have acquired. And after your death, what can be given to you as this is due, Mr. Mensah, when you worked at Elcon Bank, MNT, PNC, okay, this is what we give to Mr. Mensah for his long service. It is part of your your property. So even at death, you can still have property. Or maybe your grandfather died and it was agreed that, oh, the land that you have, he has shared it amongst you, but maybe they didn't let you know that it was yours. This is your portion. So whether you have died or not, yours is due you. It can be passed on to your children or your beneficiaries. So that is why we added that at the time of making the will, time of death, and even after death, what is due you or what is your deemed your bona fide property is deemed as what? A will that you are making as you would want it to be. And normally, it is required by law so that as much as possible, litigation is what's reduced. And even with that, even with wills, we know that there are issues. And after death, I've explained that the law only recognizes two things, either a will, which is gone to court for probate, or letters of administration. Only two things. So if your bank account didn't have a beneficiary on death, it will tell you that, oh, you've brought the notice of Mr. Mensah, the death of Mr. Mensah to our notice. From today onwards, the account is closed. We cannot deal with anybody until those who have got either a probate from his estate or letters of administration from his estate or from the courts. That is what it will say. And I have explained that if you don't do those things, the law in the states that you are in, and sometimes there are bits of differences, small differences, depending on which states that you are in the US. So a quick one is that types of testaments, and normally wills and those things are called testament. Like we have the Old Testament and the New Testament, and we all have, the Bible says that, had even told us that wills are always operative on what's after death. Whilst the person is alive, you cannot get what is due you from the person until the person has died, or he gives it to you as a gift whilst the person was alive. So we are saying that wills are operative upon death. And every will, so long as you keep it in a public registry, that is in a court or the county registries, it becomes a public document. And those of you who are very active on the social media, a politician's will became very was circulated all over the world, I will say, because everybody who had access to the net was able to see things that at point in time would have been deemed private. It was laid bare to the whole world. So once you put it in the courts and then the counties, it becomes a public record that somebody can access at any point in time after the court has given probate on it. And then now currently, especially in the US and in the European countries, we have what we call the living wills. And that is mostly relating to a person's health issues. We all know that as we get on in the years, the body becomes unable to do all that it was able to do in the past. So sometimes what you were able to say, you can't say it again. You can't go to the ATM to withdraw money. You cannot even take your own medicine. Somebody has to feed you, bath you, all the issues about old age. So that comes up now. It is called the living wills, where you can state that you are saying that when maybe you are incapacitated, you should be taken to maybe this hospice or this home care or old people's home or something. This is where you want to spend your last days. And normally 2 doctors will have to sign or agree that now you are incapacitated. So you need a living will to state that, okay, now this person will go to withdraw money. You need a power of attorney for somebody to withdraw money for you to pay your bills. And that is normally done by having 2 witnesses to state how it should be done and what should be done. And I'm saying that as for that one, please don't put it in a safe, because if you do this with your doctors and you put it in a safe, your sister, your son, your daughter may not know that you have put all these things there. And at that point in time, maybe you can't talk. So please, as much as possible, the one that you know is dear you give that to that person, that you say, as for you don't want cremation when you die, or you don't want to be taken to the hospital. You don't want to be put on a life. The nurses should help me. a tube that will sustain you and all those things. You have the right to tell all that has to be done. And as for this one, it's strictly a private document. And then thirdly, we have what we call the trust. That is also very popular in the US. In Ghana, trusts are normally done because you want to give your property or you want to buy property for your son or your daughter who is below 80 years. But here it is really very popular. People do a lot of trusts. That's when you yourself, your own property, you become the donor. And if you like, you are the same person who will administer it, or you give it to Yawata to administer it for you whilst you are alive. And it is to be given to maybe your son or your daughter as the beneficiary. So upon your death, all that is done is that the person just goes for a grant deed, and automatically, without going to court or anything, the property can immediately go to the person who is called the beneficiary. No probate required, no letters of administration. So you do that deed, naming the trustee and the beneficiary. And that's when you're also required to lodge at the title office and the home owner's insurance office. So they have those copies. So when you die, it's a trust deed. Nothing happens again. You just go and immediately the transfer is effected into your name. So those are the popular kinds of wills that is operative in the US and in the European countries. But in Ghana, I will say that we still go by the old age wills to administer our properties when we die. So we will say, why prepare a will? If you don't have all that is required for a will, you don't think about it. But if you are those who have been able to acquire 10 houses, immediately you'll be thinking about, oh, so all these 10 houses that I have acquired, what am I going to do with them? Or if by the grace of God, you have been able to acquire, even if it's only one house that you stay in with your children, the challenge now becomes, so what do I do? Which of the children do I give this property to? And especially here that our properties are acquired by mortgages. You have to start thinking, who can pay the mortgages? $3,000 a month. Which of my children can pay? All sorts of discussions go into it. And those are some of the things we'll try and look at today. And I'm saying that when you say you want to prepare a will, the things that come is that it is time for you to assess all your assets. It becomes time that you're able to assess all your assets and invariably your liabilities. Because when a will is prepared, the executor is required to pay your debts. After paying your debt, and even sometimes selling part of some of your property to pay your debt, before they can go ahead and say that, okay, we can now give you the rest of the houses or the property that your father said should be given to you. Until the debts are paid, you cannot disburse the property. So it is time for you to really assess. And it's also sometimes time for you to remember those who were a blessing to you. Maybe it was an uncle who took care of you. So you also want to think that it is time now for you to also be a blessing to the uncle's son or daughter. Maybe you say, oh, okay, I would want that person to come to the US to come and do a course. So I would want to set up some amount of money so that I can also be a blessing to that uncle or my auntie or a cousin who was a blessing to me. So sometimes it is time for you to remember all those things, those who helped you in business, somebody who was kind to you, all sorts of things, all those things you try and put it together, your monies, your jewelry and things like that, whatever is due you or is important to you, you try and think about it. And the challenging thing becomes, who do you give it to and why do you give it to that person? Like I said, it is an opportunity for you to also choose your beneficiaries, who gets what, and especially why. Why am I giving it to Mansa? Why am I giving it to Tete? Why am I not giving it to my firstborn? As is the tradition, it helps you to do all those things. And like I've said, your Social Security and your 401k are not part of your will because your beneficiaries are stated on the Social Security form. If you want somebody to benefit from your Social Security, you change it and they go on the Social Security form or your 401k form. It is not in your will that you do that. And another challenging thing that, as a lot of us are married by the grace of God, we need to think about is that whilst you are alive, you were in the house with your wife or your husband. So I explained last 2 weeks that in land, we have what we call an interest. So you have the land. In America, they give freehold. But Ghana, maybe you can even have houses which is only for 50 years. So maybe you have only 50 years left or 20 years left. That is what you are giving out. The person staying there, your husband and your wife, maybe he is also 70 years. So you know that come 30 years, God willing, he too or she will die. So you are going to give the person what? A life interest? Maybe you had the land and your partner built on it. It also has its ramifications. A house can be there, but you cannot bequeath a house alone. So if the woman built the house, as for the husband's man's family, what they know is that our brother built a house because they know he acquired the land before a house was built on it. So whether it was the woman who sent money for the money to be given, for the house to be built, whether it was the man alone who sent money for the house to be built on the wife's property in Ghana, as for the family, they do not know. So all I'm saying is that it helps you to know what is involved in the properties that you have acquired, a jointly owned property. And last 2 weeks, I explained that in law, we have two main things. Either you are co-tenants. That means when I die, I can give my property to those I want. If my husband passes away too, he can give the property to those he wants. That is what co-tenancy. And then we have joint ownership or co-ownership. That's one we have in principle what we call in law survivorship. So if I pass on, my husband, Mr. Joseph Astade, automatically becomes the owner of the whole house. If he also passes on, I automatically become the owner of the whole house. So sometimes we advise couples, we pray that there will be good relationship existing between us from the time we stay. Honey, I love you. You are the best in the days, you know, when the men are teased that they say that, oh, honey, can you see the gutter? Can't you see the gutter? The gutter is right behind you. Take your time. If you do, baby, and not, and even my we pray that a good relationship will continue so that we'll be able to say that so long as I am alive and my husband is alive, when I die, the property goes to my husband. He is going to live in it for the rest of his life. But my husband is also alive and he's also going, he was going to say automatically. And that requires that you both have your names on your documents. So if you, the man, bought the land and your wife has helped you to build, next, all the troubles that we go through, waking up through the snow and all that, please kindly go and have your documents registered now in the two of you, your names. Because if you don't do that, then the property is yours. And if you don't have a will, the family will treat it that it's for the woman alone or it is for the man alone. And then a lot of times people are now building apartments. When you build a big house and you say you give it to all your children, sometimes it's the beginning of a recipe for disaster. Because at that time, they were all eating maybe fufu and palm nut soup, like I am a Kriapim, so maybe I'm likely to be eating. But one will go and marry a Chinese man. Somebody also will marry a Nigerian. All over. And before you realize, if you say the house is for all of them are supposed to be there. Everybody will decide what he or she wants to do. Somebody will be circumspect, somebody will not be circumspect. Somebody will leave the air conditioner from morning till evening. When the bills come, it is not sure who is to pay. So sometimes when you leave all those big, big houses, when we go, it becomes a big, big problem. And instead of bringing the family together, I have seen situations that it tears families apart. It tears families apart. So if you have built an apartment, a 10-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom, 10 apartment, then you should try and have about 1 or 2 of the apartments that will just be used for maintenance. Because at a point in time, Mr. and Mrs. Cho will say that, well, you kind of people use the AC the way you want it. I'm not going to pay for it. Who is going to pay? So when you have those kind of apartments, you kind of leave 2 or 1 or 2 so that it will be used for the general service and maintenance of the grounds and things like that. Otherwise, before you realize, it has become a whole ball game and people are letting the properties out to all sorts of people. I know of a man who was a very, very rich man in the Labadi area in the 80s. He died and is now, his home is called Ekomog because all sorts of people are living there. And when you knew the house, it was called Kojo Sardin's house before, and you go and see the house now with all sorts of things because people can't pay the air conditioning. They have removed the air conditioners and they've pushed Wawa boards behind it. You will say, oh my God, what a waste. So if we don't try and do some of these things, invariably, this is what happens. And then you kind of think that who will be my executors? That is a very important part of preparing a will. Who will be your executor? And you take in for the duties that are involved in being an executor. Sometimes it may mean the person has to travel to the US to come to court and get your probate. The person has to travel to Ghana to get your probate and all sorts of things. So you have to decide who will have how to do it. And normally people take about more than one, because like you yourself can go at any time, so can the executor also go at any time. So if you make it only one executor, then it is like you now have to, there's a way we do it in law where we give it to the next executor of that executor and all sorts of things. So normally it's two people, so that God willing, when one is not there, another two, that other person can do it. And then you, like I said, you pay your valid debts. And sometimes still people put in funeral arrangements, although a lot of times the wills are read before the funeral is held before the wills are read. But people still put where they want to be buried in their funeral, their wills. I am saying that try and put them in what we call the living will, or try and let your children know, write it down that when I die, bury me where I die, or when I die, take me to Ghana, when I die, put me in America, whatever it is. Because I'm saying that when it is in a will, normally the will is opened or read and taken for probate when the funeral has already been done. So people will not be able to respect your wishes as to how you want to be buried. And you prepare a will so that you will have maybe, I would say, your peace of mind. The reason why we say it is your peace of mind is that it is your bona fide property. You have acquired it by your sweat and the grace that God has given to you. You are also taking care of your children or those who you have responsibility of, to also what? To stand on their feet and also acquire their property. So honestly, it is your property that you can disperse anyhow, and you shouldn't have any qualms about it at all. Nobody should be angry that you gave it to A or B. God willing, that person is also supposed to go and acquire his or her own. So be steadfast. And when you are doing it, just know that the person will take care of the best interest of all the parties in your family. You know that when you give it to Adwaya, Adwaya will be able to take care of all the interests of everybody. Give it to Adwaya. And forget that in case I say, no, it is your personal property. We know in the US that they give it to cat houses, dog houses, and also they take it that it's your property. Who you want it to give it to, it is who you want to give it to. So we are now going to look at very quickly, the legal requirements. When you go on the net now, you can get a lot of this information, but I want to come from the angle where it's not necessarily what you get on the net or what an average lawyer will give you. That is the information that I want to give you. So I'll quickly run through it because as of this, it's in a law. You can Google it and you can get it. So a quick recap of it is that a person must be 18 and above, and it must be of sound mind. That means you are supposed to do it without duress or somebody pushing you. That is why wills are expected to be done before you get sick. You get sick and you can't talk properly and all those things. When you can't talk properly and you do a will, it can be challenged in courts. And I said that a will requires an executor. A beneficiary can also become an executor. Maybe you want your son to be a beneficiary of a house you've built. He can also be an executor. It doesn't matter at all. And you appoint somebody who will respect your wishes and be ready for the responsibilities that are involved. In Ghana, an executor must be 21 years and above. The difference with that in that of America is that in America, the executor can be 80 years. So in Ghana, the person must be 21 years. I'm saying that an executor cannot be a witness. So please, I think we are getting a feedback from somebody.
Mama, I'm second. Mr. Ma, Ubianshana Lano, Mr. Bebre. Mamma Mary, Pacho, Shamla, and nothing me to my Kakra. Pacho. I know, Mary Medasi. Mama Pacho, better trust.
Thank you. Mr. Executor, you have to sit down and try and think about who can be the executor. And if you get to know who can be the executor, you have to also make sure that you don't make him one of the persons who will witness your document. An executor cannot be a witness. So if you know you have a friend you want to be an executor, please don't let him to be a witness to your will. Choose neutral persons. All I'm explaining is that an executor can be a beneficiary too. So your son that you know you are giving the house to, you can make him a beneficiary. So in the document that we prepare, he signs in one breath as an executor and he signs in another breath too in the same document as a beneficiary. And then in Ghana, the law requires that you must make provision for those who are your dependents. So if you have children who are 18 years and below, you are required to what? Provide for them, make provision for them. You are supposed to make provision for your spouses. If your parents were depending on you, you are supposed to make what? Provision for them. Because if you don't do, the law in Ghana says that they can go to court and say that it was my son, Berima, who was taking care of me all these years. He did that until he died. But unfortunately, it looks like in his will, he didn't put any money for me. Every month, he was bringing me $200. If you can have proof and they go to court, the court will say, oh, it's true. You were taking care of your father or your mother or whoever it is. You didn't put any money in the account, in the will for him. So they will order the executor that, look, give out of the estate maybe an amount of money, or once there is money in the person's account, every month give the old lady 200. The old lady expected to die before you, but unfortunately you have gone before him. So he's right, you have to take care of her. So in Ghana, it is a law. In the US here, it is not a law. Although all things being equal, you're supposed to provide for your dependents and your children and all, it is not a law. But in Ghana, it is the law. Also, a law can be revoked and it can be altered. And normally, if it is altered, you have to say that I am making this last testament and it revokes. So you can put it in layman's language and it cancels. And all that I wrote in the last one, I have changed my mind. But in the legal language, you say, we revoke the will that I made or maybe 2 years ago. I revoke it, or I alter it by this new one. When you do a new will, normally in law, we call it a codicil. So you can revoke it. And some people actually destroy it. But if you destroy it and you've got one at the high court, you must know that it is still there. So you must quickly do a new one, which you must tell the court that you have what? Revoked, so that it becomes clear that it is maybe the 2022 will that is operative and not maybe the one that you did in the year 2000. So all those things you need to take care of. And then I said that the law requires in Ghana that it is deposited at the high court. Normally, it is put in the high court where you have a property. So if you have all your properties maybe in the Brong-Ahafo region, it is yet expedient that you put it where? In the Sunyani High Court, because that is where they'll go for the probate. And also, the law requires that if you have properties maybe in so many other places, you are supposed to put copies of all those wills in all those places. Because like I said, you may have to come to the US. And so if the US hasn't got a copy of the will, it may be in their registry, and their law in that state that there should be one in the registry, you may have to deposit it there before. So if you yourself has deposited it there, you know that it is intact. And normally in Ghana, you yourself, you're supposed to seal it, or normally the lawyers do it. Although the law does not require a lawyer to do your will. Unlike a land document that a lawyer must do it, in a will, you are not required to let a lawyer do it for you. But because of the legal issues, normally we do it. And we are all available. A call, it will explain a few things and you'll be confident about what you are doing. So the way you deposit it in the court is by putting it in an envelope, you seal it, then you put your name and your address at the back of that envelope and the date on which you are depositing it. Then you take it to the high court. They will collect a small amount of money and they will also put in their marks and things like that to know that it is intact, and then it is put as part of their records in the high court. So that is basically what the law requires of us. And the only clear difference about wills made outside Ghana is that an executor can be 18 years. I think that is really, really, really the marked difference. And for here, you must think about inheritance tax paid by the beneficiary, and although a few things, but otherwise the basic processes are the same. And a little bit of caution is that here, because we know their system is so very strict, you must seriously think about who can pay your mortgage. Because if you don't pay your mortgage 2, 3, 4 times, what it may be put for it may be earmarked for what? Foreclosure. Please, in case there's a question, you can just, let me stop and then we can answer your question and continue. Like I said, we can spread this discussion between 1 or 2 more weeks so that we get a clear understanding. Whether it is on land or on wills, we can have a discussion again on it. So practically, how to draft a will. And normally you start by saying that this is the last will and testament of Mrs. Joyce Atajemfi. Then you add your address. That is what starts it. Then you can go any way you want it. You start listing what you want to do or what you want to do. Oh, yeah, well, their first statement, baby, and I say, yes, and say, there must be these clear words. The last will and testament of not what you would now the address with our will ashes. Then you can start. And then you can
Joe, I mean, it's a quick question. I said about to okay, be first. I will be outside the Ghana now. ABR, so Kurani, I'm basically 18 years. I'm not I just woman 18 years. A patrol. So a bus be a sabbin up as all you know. It be a way in it. Now, more Francis, tell me a best 11, 10, best up to 12 years. And no woman to form Mudiana.
Patrogas won't mean for Mudin, yeah, maintains Omuni any dear.
Because who can say 18 years and older?
Oh, okay. Hey, Patroga, make any say, Obi already 18, be an Otimi well.
Oh, okay.
Obi already 18 years and above, no Otimi well.
Oh, okay.
Patro, Sanana me patro any.
Okay.
Woman is so dear. And not normally trust documents, and no what the shemu say. Woko wechi ebia o ma secondary school ebia ya member no we dey make the term na so kakra your abrochian so be ne akọ ba ko bi wo Ghana ana se akọ bi wo baabi enti ebia onko na woni mo ebi wo na wo yire kra nim enti edia na wo dey ahye mu se o me be ba ko bi e ba ma me wo kọ wo no wo Ghana we di 5 years we di 10 years wo dey hye so say we na wo dey si wo ama ne say fan hwe in school so you are supposed to put in something for your dependents and uncle for amrache say when I'll share or show and me say yeah draft will me say oh start is obey the last will and testament of Mr. so and so na fe watch ne hia no ne me hia na me bobo so no executors omo mugina wa na mu nti ona make us obesusu hu nipa mienu bi a ombetimi onua ombetimi wo sofo normally asofo na edi sa adwuma na ehye omokon ana wo lawyer bi west state ne so ana so wadanfo bi a wonim se obetimi de wani ato no so ana bibisa wa cho nupa kro ni din ana omu din me say normally any about 2 we ne ba kwa bi no no so I den say bi wa kọ na chintem now the almost address maybe a telephone number so ahihye ntina be ya oman kasa po anywhere na bia wo will no waja bi ba ko bi ahye drawer bi mu a obi bie so ana ye court na ko bie so na omutimi frɛ onipa kɔ ni say oh uncle Kwesi ata me pa cho daddy ma na o ye executor no normally nkofo catch nkofo say oh na be me executor no nipa kɔ na pene so be executor no but ebi ho wanka but oh uncle ata bini daddy say I won't be any executor no pocho uzini woni wo ni mu de I won't be any executor no pocho ebetuma aboy en kakra na ahwe ni nyema ne da maye na because they have the address and the telephone number you can communicate with them so it is important and normally na ya na for the landed properties never first since as a home seminar neba first and sign on a brofum ne kind of immovable property and some movable say yes car stocks shares any sign in manaba but like I said I know the send our penny bia utimi ye me den a church on send our pay na hu ya ba kusu bi ma mepese mu hu ne say emremu ne obebi a friend residuary clause because me trust yes say we wu kopo no ejapade bitimi ye wodia se na machie mu ebi ebusu ejapade bi a wo nuanu mu nyina ye chiche no wo chefa ewo mu no esese e de ma ansani aka say oh we free muntino ekodi wo ma ho ana nkrofo aka say ojapade emfa mom e bekwa akodi wo ho enti o sare residuary clause no enti wo the went me anka opoto custom and write, so you write residuary clause kwa, you just write my properties and all my other properties should be given to. And we also encourage people to use the layman's language. As I say, we try to encourage everybody, because who use legal language, no one illegal nemanasia, no one can be into just your plain language, and all other property that are acquired after my death or it's due me after my death should be given to simple language, and it is acceptable by the courts or for the probate. Now, what also like much about immovable property, no. It is only when we have houses that we really think about wills. Like I said, some of the banks even have beneficiary on death and all those things. So it is when we have properties. So please, I still encourage you say, Pamocho, most artists more assassina. Munya Butre, the system in Ghana is slow, it is very slow, it is very cumbersome, but you start. And make it that if you are the kind who go to Ghana once a year, when you're going for the holiday, no, what the become on your man? What the Okona and Kolano, normally we have some of the young men and young women who will not pay attention to you. Oko office now ask to see the director. A lot of the times, no, in Pennsylvania is so nice, so very nice. You book an appointment and talk to the director. Or pay me a quack of a public office. Try and go. Now, because when we are the interest cannot be passed on. As a dynasty ho, assassin wo, but yentimi nye ho krata ema emedi wo nua na wo ba nsem. Enti when we are na che se ekonkon ho. Wo ba nso onimo npa kwa okoto free ni ho. Enkran asase so se na me kan last 2 weeks no. Ye tono ba 2, 3, 4 times. Asase ba judgments bebree. Ebia wo na wo ni nsensem wo hu na. Wo executor na onim. Enti woka so masasi ye wo chira na meka se site plan here. Okra site plan na just okofa surveyor na surveyor kwa ko yi asase no na ebia nkola 6 no waka se one na efa na wo lorry kwan ho na obi so afa na ho na lorry kwan ho na unnecessary pressure and all those things. Enti bomodian na wo de asase moto a bomodian na go follow it up na wie so that you can then be able to bequeath it. And no say no yeah well no now land certificate no so the account, because I had to say car one for car papers na nkan wa untimi kwa kosesa edin wo den licensing office enti so drive car no na yensesa wo nidim a what would we all know? The person can be caught by the police. Enti wo yes our document na the car papers so sebi eno so can documents or the can will no and I say well baby what shows so clearly so that the person will be your executor will be able to have access to all those documents. Now with me then I can say, oh okay, Henry, your father gave you the Mercedes Benz. Come with me to the DVLA if it is Ghana or if it is in America here, the licensing office. They go, you show the particulars, you show your probate and all the papers, and pronto, they are able to do what is required. And we document, oh yeah, well now, but more the actual, say why a land certificate, what your land certificate number, no, a woman, say, was I say what teshi with land certificate number, I money specific. And ye be a port now certificate now you are was a executor now no be a crowd will be at me so can say, oh, you have land certificate number GATD so IRA. You bet me a cofa number. But so one master information in now cause was assassin or than summer, or dine or than summer no, or the more about penny no. It's a whole ball game. If any could be sebisa, I've talked about that already. As much as possible, please be specific. Baby, any registration districts, I greater Accra, Koforidua and all those places, no. Urie, Tamale and all those places, no. Registration number, deeds registry number, no. And so long as you put the deeds registry number there, you can go, and with that one, a quick search can be done. Yeah, a photocopy of the documents. The ama executor, no, anana, Obabe benefited from your property. Into money de eboa. And I may say, say won't mean indenture and as won't real one sem kakra with the site plan, make it sure say it can well with that one it can what be redeemed. Severe bit me a cop no aqua and then all things being equal, assassinate or henny dear or henny who cry penny be or henny dear. It is an office into wukra obidi na de utimi kosan wa sen bim se be and snap na betu se then you all those side plan ni true I just so utu sika kakra aka say you can tell your story but without a side plan you cannot know what to do ebia ne akosi dan wo so wukra side plan nko a de a na utu bibi kakra e wo so a you can go to them and say oh ni mensa me papa eta asasi we side plan amode man ni o na napo ni signature was a chire na de na me se makode akoma obi from obi asida on so nti we de ni de mu a me pamcho esese mo hwe bi eden edema me enye sa metimi akokot they will respect it and try and give you another land. So please, it is so very important that you get a site plan, and as much as possible don't give it general my house in the US is made up of how many states? 50 states. And if you say my house in New York, we all know the addresses, and just make it specific. In US here, it is easy to have a specific address. It is in Ghana that we have our challenges, but even it is getting better. Into the site plan, my land at Chira with site plan attached. And the bit me a Chira, na survey a quack of fish. Now, Sanya Sanaka, some assassin, what Chira now. Why they who be assassinated? This was could be sebisa. Or cast my house at Dansuma. Ebi free Ghana 20 years. You to assassin. Ebi all the rentier. Dansuma. Oh, who baby offer. Ain't me purchasing me kind as much as possible. If it's house number, give it. If it's the registration number, state it in the document. The land certificate number, state it. And if possible, add copies of the document to your will so that it will make the work of your executor easy. We are supposed to close quite soon, but if I have your permission, you can ask questions and then we can maybe close the discussion. Or if you have time, I also have time, we can extend the discussion a bit more. Mr. Korte, please, can we extend the discussion a bit more till about 5:30?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, thank you. So we are continuing. And then I'm saying normally everybody starts with the land. With the land issue, with the land. And I said the compound houses. Sometimes when you read people's wills, and because I was a registrar, I had the access to people's wills, and some were so very interesting. They'll say that the middle room between the house that is for Abrefi and Yasewa should be given to Kwesiata. And so you would sometimes wonder that if the executor does not know all those intimate things, how will he be able to know that this is the middle house that has to be given to Kwesiata? And like I've told you, beware of the houses that are built in compound houses and saying that we want our children to be in every one room. No, a point in time, you wouldn't want to see, if you had eyes to see from the grave, what will be going on there. Brother, sister, they are not talking because the wife who came is a whole ball game. I have a joke that I have with my husband that when we were in the university, we had a young man who was from the north, and you say him dawa sent a woman. Them say okosua dia ebo said 9 and so abanu aduane. Nti upe na dawa e ko hwini mu. O da kra nye ye. Enti bia mo fie de bia na mo ye nkran for dokro na mudi. So bia yira ko ware eraba fefe bi obi free ofri srem. Dawa no nua. Unua ti wa na de oso ne hwini. Enti what was likable amongst the children, you may have people who are of different orientation and understanding. The way you were keeping your things, the other person will not do that. Or because the pipe is a same and short, the person doesn't care. And you can't begrudge the person because they be on. But I am on your property. So you should be very careful about leaving wholesale properties to 6, 5, 4, 10 children. Sometimes it's a disaster in the making. And then if you're having your beneficiaries, please don't be writing sweetie, papa, yeah, baby, nibi, pajo, debi. Adeno, sene can krata. So please write the official name. Name what passport ni mu. And non a register any so no the iden or the assistant edin. Enti se would bano ufre no pajoa. Naka se sa asase o dan so me edan me de ma pajoa. Just say sen koye what? Affidavit, statutory declaration. Aka say pajo no ono ne friend Joseph Boachi Dankwa. Na me friend pajo. So pajo is the same as Joseph Boachi Dankwa. A document has to come. Otherwise, Pajo and Joseph Boachi Dankwa are two different personalities. It is only you who knows that Joseph Boachi Dankwa is the one you call Pajo. Your wife, maybe you call your wife sweetie or honey. The registrar cannot use those names. So please write your wife's full name. And as for the women, please, we have to be clear. We let our husbands appreciate this. Whilst we cannot have another Mr., they can have another Mrs. Sometimes death can come in. Unfortunately, sometimes divorces come in. So the man in his lifetime can have 2, 3, 4 wives. So if you write my wife, if it was in the will was done in 1980, and he wrote, this land at Dansuma, I give to my wife. At that time, he was thinking of his wife that was the wife in 1980 or the year 2000. Maybe 22 years later, perchance the wife has died. There is a new wife called Mary. But because you just said my wife, it is not clear. The law will say it is the new wife. But maybe you were thinking of your old wife. Maybe you have divorced, but you still want that property to go to that your old wife, the one that you have divorced. You know maybe what she did for you. You respect her for some. Maybe you want her to use that property to take care of the children. So you say this property should go to that my old wife. So as much as possible, write people's full names, official names. So the executor will be able to know that as of this property, it was given to Joseph Boachi Dankwa. It was given to Mrs. Joyce Atajenfi. Because there may be another Mary Atajenfi, rightly or wrongly. So please, the women, I hope we appreciate this. And the men, please, Mumbo Modiana taking notes. Now, Obia official names. Now, when we travel here, because of circumstances, people change their names. They change their names, you know, the situation and nipa betinem wo hantino. And me pacho they use to dia passport ni mo. If say any document a okwa akọkyere na yasesa din ne the amount. Oko licensing office na sa passport no do kwa akọkyere ansa na yamano we card and all those things that you require here. And to say one first official name na shimna the white man then I walk bronin then I walk no better say oh ni din na ne papa friend pajo so or no pajo he wouldn't understand. And he wouldn't even have time for those things. He just wants to see your documents and he will just do the necessary changes for you. So please don't write endearing names. Write official names as much as possible. As much as possible, write official names. And so even if the person has 2 or 3 names, so they're bonina alias Sweetie, alias Pajo, a friend Joseph Boachi Dankwa, or something, so that it is clear that, oh, you are referring to the same person. And then don't write all my children. And today it looks like, unfortunately, I'm addressing the men. Sometimes when death comes, that is when we see new children. And please, I'm not begrudging anyone, but I'm telling you what I have seen in my practice. That is when we see new children. So when you say all my children, the ones that are rightly your children and maybe not your children, they can come and parade as my children. Maybe you had an affair with that woman. So people know that, oh, yes, you had an affair with that woman. Oh, yes, we know that Owari and San are all. But as to whether that child is really your child, it's not clear. So if you want to give something to your children, don't write all my children. You write the children's name. You write all your children's official names. If it is 10, write one after the other, their names in it. Don't write all my children. And people you have also taken as your children, maybe an adopted child or a child that you took care of and you made part of your home. If you consider that child your child, write that child's name. Some people also try and make it my biological children. Then you still tell their names.
Excuse me.
Mr. Korte. No problem. Please, we can pause here for questions. We can pause.
Very good.
If anybody has a question.
Say questions and now say we be episode the basal mamia to us in sa so the beya do baby necessary aboa ye nara pamacho na me come say Yonkodoradio so e was enti some so be a question na some we be a sabi obetimi aba na was
yo opani kote that's it and Mami Joyce also so yedo asepa Mami Joyce lawyer and chira wo de amaye nyame nhira obebre na mitia na edru ba bia brofo na dos no na se yenti brofo papa nchira mi refi mi ne ma ne bebre my question is say o papa ana o maame ewo ejapade edan oye japade no emunu akra no wo no a wo ye ba no obo a wo maame no ana wo papa no ema o wie na japade no chenu hu ye no wire well na wo no a wo maame no ana papa no ye no na ode edan no mududo no ano ama na busuafo ena wo de wagya wo ba ku bi ewu na pese mbusa se wo maame no ana wo papa no ho kwan se oye saade no na oye ne saa na kire so ni ho a eye wo a wo ye ba no utumi ekase daabi me maame no ana me papa no ya de no me kobo wai eni nti no even though why well no ato no kra me gidi se ade no ni nyina me dia if say me na me papa na me maame no but your question
no okay. So now can maybe more than I can tree no. If me we could have had all the discussion even in tree. And your friend no person contested will. That is what a kind of legal language must all contested will. And mama who coins so be contested will. But I na ye adisua because sana me can mfiase no. Ye funny say will no unipa krono ono ani brensuo na bra pa wabo na adom anyame de adom no wetimi anya na oyeden ode chiche o chiche ana o kasese na opese ene ye no ye fa ne se eni de mu a wonso wo ba bebo wa brabo na se na wo so wo pe no wa yeden wa chiche wa japade se na wonso be de wo pe no ebi wo ho anse na wo kan oboa wo papa but se kokota esan se wo de court pe na obetimi edisa asem no wo wo kokota ese executor no so ono de ontimi nka se na wo kan ewo mu ana enim na obeya ne so kwa kofa lawyer se nka kwesi after ne will no se enye ni sei ni se minta will no se enye ni sei but me say na wo fa sibi ana panyi bi se ono no boa ye pa na adwuma ne ye nti na nka osusu se nke de bema no but yan farmer no enti lawyer bi begina ho no so aka ma estate no ana se will na ye gya no obeka se na be a will no ya tro wo mu eno kwa na enye de endim enti na ma emienu enti ebia wo na wo de evidence beba say ebia wo na ukọ tema fishing harbor ekoto fishi wo na invoices ni nyina wo keep una wo say na no ontua wo ka if you say bi o ma wonya ante ase say or the basic dan be amount, and as or the what said dan be no see. So you have to bring evidence to show, say, to all intents and purposes, no, a dan be an a japadi be or yen, and as a bewo dear. It's not a bewo na wo be sa invest, and it should be near kind of compelling. As I so be it, oh, and pam, wait, dear, because the same Mr. Minta. Se no susu ye no kese ode to krata so say asasi ana ejapade ana company nke mfama nenena yi ana se ninu yi ana se na wofasi na court ni so agi atum say esan say we ye B we ye C no ntino you should not be denied. If you say machre say na mrama ho kwan say nkofo etimi court no dependents omo a I think we all understand dependence. Oma ebiani maybe nti omo ntimi ye adwuma wo ma wankasa wo ye fun ma machre say otimi hwe omo ko school say and now papa no ana bibi a wo hwe omo wo yiri ukunu dependence. Enti wo say wo de opese okoka well no ho asem, then you should have a lot of evidence. We should back you. Now wait me akokot na ya kase ebia yen property ni bi enfama and I say, near the mass messino, yen farmer. That will need a lot of compelling evidence. And sana, it's me, I sa, the amount. Normally, when na senko fo nja wela na ya ne kano de ya na yetimi canon tem kakra because I no ye di jama administrators no. Na ye busuafo. Nti ho no utimi ka wasem echempanyifo na efe no mo ye dey mrama mo kwa no mo no mo chiche enye benefit away executor ni bio na all chiche well no as dey abusua na ka ma o ka say we nko na yiri ho we nko emma ho ka yi nko asumesi ho we nko ma ne baketu ye efe no obeko school no ho nti ho de o ka wasem ni bia na ekọ echiwe. Now to me them bar, but will dear kana. But if you have compelling evidence, then maybe the court will hear you. Me pacho what you say kakra.
Lawyer, nyami shao papa emu ada ho. Watch you class and say na kamisi no. Ama masati eneme biase enti no be the one. Nyami shao.
You
yeah. We for person can ask them for and pamcho or betu there ba.
Yo, Mama, my parents may be saying that a will and before the execution. Oh, yet today a probate na the probate no about the new importance only relating to the execution of the will. Then.
Okay, me da say. Me say maybe na ye discussion mu no. Ye be ka probate no, but yes say wo dey aba say na yetimi edi ho dwuma. Isan say will eye emra ade enti no. Watch your will ne dear, but executor no anana ogina wa name no. Oko courts ansa na court na ka say efe de opanyi minta oka baabi no ni susuye no bibia ye pepepe will no ampa nipa mienu na a witness ye wabo witness din wa cheche ni ememu se na esese ye wo mremu enu nti efe de yama probate nti probate ni etumi krata court ejina so Emma executor no otimi ye den eye will no ho adwuma enti ukra will na wo unkra probate o abai office bia emua wo enti ye kan will ni wie pe na esese ye ni say executors no me den omukọ court na omakọ file will no eni bibia se na mra hye no omakọ akoka say o asimesi ka baabi no oyime kwesi mensa say minjida na many executor ni will na ni judge ne behwe bibia na efedi o se o ampa se de bibia ne ama probate na probate no fe probate bia em say next time bibia bibia ba abeto probate na che bibia npa koni wu ye e che date wu ye na efi abobo executors ni edin mu enti eno no executor ni timi kura probate no sabi onkra well ne kra it is self evident say executor ye ebia Mary Mensa mi kra probate na mimi di Mary Mensa no ewo so ana se me na me ye executor ne ba ko a me din Joyce Atagemfi no me din wo so na ebia so bi ka ho biom eye ebia Christian Abrefi ono so didin wo so nti eno say no me Joyce Atagemfi metime ne Christian Abrefi akọ Bank of America aka say openyiminta aka baby no ye will probate ni eno na che say ampa se de tumi na penyiminta de ma wo bra ka baby no so gina nenemu no emra afoaso nti probate na obetimi de eden akọ baby e de akọ eden akọ ye adwuma nti eno na normally no baby properties ne wo no ho na ekoji probate no enti se properties ne wo America ha Maryland New York obeko New York courts county ho na se oja will ne copy wo ho a wako na omo yi sa will ne de aka death certificate no na ebia o copy of will ne bi kra what they file papers no fe wako court na lawyer ko present se executor nie ana nyemeni nie ne fe ya shase wa so executor no say all properties were Ghana it is taken say obeja bi e wo Ghana but one file wo Ghana kra na okra wa ha no ye kon re-enlistment court ne be ye ho adwuma e wo Ghana ne aka say okay executor na ba okra probate from New York but SSA timi man Ghana 2 million no so timi ye den e de ye asase ne ho ana Mr. Mensa ho insase ho adwuma the properties ho e wo Ghana ho into the tall and short of it, say probate ni ye will I de court na aban amra and I say mra etintintin so na ma wo executor ni to me say fe de chiche properties no na probate ni a paper wutimi kura a wudin e wo so mpacho nti ase na ba ana yebetimi abobo mu kakra bi mu ana
Your mama nti
ase wo okay mpacho question bi wo ho bi mu ana
Yes and some maybe some question na ebusafe na asa ati say ya me ya do my next week dey into me and maso say e can meeting if you say and but the following week remember your man rabba to so with media oil and I face the telephone number so on the address and it is to be per se of friend now bit more actually payment on the heading kita ho a opese bia on the bia now my question can be say every will is operating after the death okay but choice him no you know who say that in him the story about the prodigal son now only there menje so oyehu and so to me connect your work say ejapade bia owo no so wu a na die na fam no on fam mama it be say sambre no ende wo ye wiase no edaso eye adwuma sa na if you say me hu bi pay yes mate me hu bi pay na ekwaso mkwafu ebia mo a mo ye lawyer mo ma ho kwan emma sa na me na etumi kwaso ana the question
okay me say when you quote him so who fears no my reference to a parable anyankopon Yesu Christo emaye
exactly
now it was according to the laws and practices at that time
okay
practices so we say ebusua bia na say ekuo bia ebia se Ghana oko fantie I can but oko fantie wo bia omumra hye kakra omoye asante force bi obi ko echi a say 1 week say krapo ya amane a eden. So gradually people have their own practices na ya yehwe na dia be law na achichere a group of people. And it's that time no tetemre mu no na that time was what was operative. Say normally no oye adwuma wo papa no wo de japade no all things being equal no even for sometimes in the very very old Leviticus times no ye de ma first born America crab e kan omo ne mani bi no na emra no say de ma first born in the 17th century no no moye say panyin no ne de ma no ansana gradually no mo sesa ne say de bi ye be che ne pepepe de ama obia na afa hintinti afa ohia ambre ebinom enti say de Ghana mra ye mra ye di adwuma de sebe so bika baby a niema mienu pe either so nipa kɔ ye will enti will no so ne yegina ekwa akɔgye probate na ya hwehwɛ akyekyɛ niema no se na onipa kɔ na ɔno ade na ho den enya property no ana se wanje will a immediately ye beka say de ye kwa akɔpɛ letters of administration na eno no abusuaku no na yi mra no kyerɛ nipa bɛ say 4 not more than 4 enti ebia normally ebia na yewe ana owo ana ne kuna na ote ase na ebia busua panyi ana ase busua ni mu no panyi owo mu na ade na ebom no makɔ court na akɔyɛ sɛ adwuma no enti na wo kan de sesei de emi se enye mra but ebetimi aye nhyehyɛ ya obi gitum ade kind of personal law wo busua ku ketwe bi mu no saa na ɛwɔ hɔ na no de gise bia nipa na oyeden otiase na ebia obetimi aka se ebia daddy maboa wo se na na menua bi enua ba ko ebisa wo ho se uboa wo nua bi ubua wo papa bi wadwuma bi mu nti wedi da so ne so se okọ no beja ma o ka ma na so bre na anyekwa enti big so daddy look unti apo am se mi hu ne emeye na minim se bia nka obedane kai di amami anase nka sa dan di nka obedma me ahye me din mu sina bia hinti bia enye den emba enti we di enye se me pre we japade but ebe ya nka fa hye me din mu na okwa ma me bra anyekwa utimi ene wo papa na wo ma bia bia den e ka me sa enti ase ba ode be hye wo din mu anase obepre mpanyifo bi o no waka se me dan we die me de ma me ba we adwuma we de me ba we na aboa me enti enfa ma no onye de onkoso enhwe so na bia sika ebenye film na ebi de ahwe bibi sa esanse adansidie fowo ho nintino ye betimi ataawo echi na ometimi ayeden aye but no ye be friend customary law eya na ho hyehyɛ no eye den kakra but it can still be done. Na so nipa kro no enya santi ase no na ebi okasa okay meba waka ne san pamate ase me de be hye me wele mu na ayede ayewo dia and then na ayi it takes every doubt away because it is written internet say ni say be nyina ayewo written word aye testament ye nyina aye kan bi enti de whole fade the mount enti na wo kan de it is more a personal law obi betimi agina so aye but enye mra ewo Ghana mra hyehyɛ yi mu as far as I know
me da wase amen jase wo da wase
okay
so bi was foforo na mbo bi a pamacho ebe wo
yo okoniko to bi amaya mi musa asamba ako
okay
yeah Mama Joyce I'm say me question we ni nya about well but I'm say last time the obetchere you know and media me find say e be free honum na say no me hu video bi obi de ebre me na emu no na enipa kra wo kasa no ka bibi say usifie ana so wahyasie unwie na uma obi kokotenem se enipa kro enhwe efie ho ema wo a edi emre bi a menim say no wo kase 10 years a enfa ne say du emre bi a enipa kro no wodi fie no agya no a wo hwe ho to me claim ownership of the property. Na emu entiase ni papa. But we baby na obi ede kokko bonten. They say me busa say saying an assassin way a no crefa and I say any no cre. Ye no so if you wa na me busa say uma will be etna ofie say on hwe hwa and she say pa ben and also we a obetumi de abo wo no a we ona no ho ban ani nipa ko no a ono so no ba betena efie ho ama wo no pacho me question no.
Okay. But say the first one, let me say, discussions last 2 weeks. Let me say, can't want some kakra. I'm saying now, in Pacondi be 2 January, kind of performance a statute of limitation. As a ma buying share say, it be obi de woka. One could down when Paconi car after ABR 6 years, won't mean down cannibal. Now, as I say, any diamond, and me say mostly assassin. Now I'm running 12 years. And normally in the law, I say 12 years statute of limitation, 12 years statute of limitation. I'm saying no, na wo pay the akano say mrano ka say o ja assassin da ho fa no bi kotena so. Wo akasa wonim say asemesi akwa assassin so. Won kan ho hwe efe 12 years time. Maybe I want to say, what document was so. A man a patch they say, send and call me a court and 10 temacoca say, hey, 3 years in me who say, Obi ed do massas, what now what 12 years are. A bind said to me and uncle, any obium. But me trust, yes, our law was done in 1972. That's our time, title registration laws and our registration laws, if I know, yen shedan she mukena. Inteno na na mind for there, it make us say, oh, Martina Sassi so 12 years, intimate them, or who quite some court says as a media. A monsoon not court, man, a protect in Kofoa, Sabi, a be or what, or the whole dear Koye Juma was as 12 years, a be or could do a cocoa, or could do a kutu, or could do a mango. Wakwa poultry farm be. Now one kasa oh, ude fire juma. Now wait me at now 12 years. If you want say emina so betitini koko, and also titini so ko nyeska, ekutu no atiti de nyeska. Poultry farm no ye na de. Na if you wa ba pra kope se wutu no. And I say wo se wadwuma nyina me masase into free so. Ehona mmara no pese de eboa na nkasa upakọ ne brain enye de ense kwa because koko na why what na see ba law na kana quiescence one kasa wa ma ho kwan ma mmara no edi wunya what na see hwe hanya muniba kro dua koko 12 years o meka ho hwe efe obetete ansa na ba beka ho ase na me sanche mu se emre bie ni wa eye tralasa. That is the written law, 1972. But net sana ediye ejuma ewo mremu se obi a o man ho kwan so ntina wasase 12 years pepe no be ka cho se wu ni kwan se obe de obeka sasase ye odi bim da bi nye sana tie judge bie ni kwa obu asem so a ofa emra no nko akeke tisina bia wafa traffic light and mremu ye kind of strict liability offense ultra traffic light ma red asom police in here evidence bia so long as it means ultra traffic light why what omra otimi we den e find o otimi bo kwadu and e strict liability assassin semi entisa emrama ho kwan so the evidence beba na niema 3 na ya na mra ye gina so ba ko ye fairness na pepe yi kente to asomo ana good conscience. Sa necessary nipa na edwin adwin kro esese ya na and reasonability reasonable say obi di kanana ebeka se me ana me ye wado ye me se dokakra no efe die oje ana. The law looks at all these things and some obey obey. But if you have registered your document, title registration last 2 weeks, make sure I say yeah publication. Edeka say wa sembia kanuka if it's a one can fitinekoi obi any one same can be all things being equal ye must certificate in the name of Mr. Quality and kaye dim run so pepe can you so be a obi okra land certificate court bill just a fraud or the fraud in a G and so all land certificate was so and the me na me jeja me catch you ni pakuna what's my assassin so 12 years and they say look, you may have been on the land for 12 years but your long occupation does not ripen in what ownership potokase American the facts are what's my assassin so much and mass assassin ye den enye wo dia but that time na 1972 na nkran ye wo hefa e we chire enti wako do we krasi hot 12 years bia na why dey ho na unionu didi didi untimi etu free ho. And so all those things were done so that the law will protect people. But say the one register was here. Many ni so be betimi this provision then akọ courts. Akọ decide juman. In the same breath, no say Becca say, "Eya assassin so you are going to muntu. Enye de bia na bia utimi den. Utimi ko ekọhwe assassin. What am oba ana wunu bia na bibisa wunu ho de bia." And we are coming to the second question that you asked me de tine de ko Umo bia otna subiano every year no utua rent. Send yes say internet tradition bi ba ya bon senkofo bi afeso a normal so aduane e de akwa akoma omo landlord. Ni na ye nche so de che wo ye me tenant. Enti bibisa no obema unpa kon say oh mini abroad mini Ghana de. Now so every year no obede odi ni me be kwa akoma madam fui e wo mimi din. Obe come in na fie, obe come crow my fie, obe say, so that the person on the land will know that he is a tenant, he is not an owner, and he has responsibilities. It be quite kind of contractual responsibilities. I just say, as I say, what's not so say every year no or the cocoa and now a bro bottle miensa ebeko akoma unba kwa betreno. Ana brode no twa obetwa say e de abrel ana bibista ana so beton no de akoto savings no. So you are supposed to give the person some modalities as to how to stay on the land. But uchu watwimu kra maybe also abandon. No. Once you have a land certificate, you have registered your documents, it is evidence to the whole world to say assassin odia. But now betimi be a bit protected assassin and also betimi say hwe enti wo wie pe bia na wa dua bibi enti na na tetino me entome ede ye hyen na ade no ne we dua wa me dua bi wo so wa ya hyen kadie bi a e kire se wo na wo ye we obi etimi hu so dua we me na me dua ye me ma ye dua nue we nyina wo so. Then you can also have a case to protect your interest in that land. I will say a written law, but it is not invoked now. A law e wo ho asana ya ye nim about mra e bit me ededa na Yesu Christo ba e wa ba ya pam foforo no. The old law is still there, but we still are under the dispensation of what? Grace. Into the law, old law can be there, but you use grace. Into a way the enfaton keke sebe, as we all understand the word of God to be. Second question I will be saying, so I find it very, very relevant. What the ubitna a dime and I say, we do adoye, upo bike or betna dime on what fesu ye keke, dear mawu. That's what fesu ye. Into the ultimate dine a cry. Ebo no pacono, and say until wonka. And until wonka, into no, I say a day. As I snap a day, oh, and the paper cry will, paper crom baby. When assassin crow one ko abaso, assassin soon a fuye na de, but to the specific also dying. And as assassin, into now Ben say, you must establish a contractual relationship with the person. Mut missing sign krataka kra and keye. But mo intimians and sign, open mana obligation, responsibility from the party say every month, every 6 months, every 3 months, every year, and I be been oko tracy kebi. Oye bibia ema etres emremu se owo ayedie biye edemam na uja de to trala sana na fi ayese odipa kona so afi se wa betintim na ya empempi no enye onipa kropa odi asase ne gya no na eya omotiminya ho asem kan e bia na bebi on de no nim wo landlord no Ona ne papa na atena asase ne so a we hu landlord bia wo hu obi obebi sase bi nti wo nim se ne papa asase we hu se ne papa sua ne me bia de ko su de ko ma queen mother bi ana de ko labadi ana de ko baby ekropon bi dabi nti wo nim se ne papa asase nti ya omumu no mugina ho ka se asase de me papa de ono na odoso na efi amawo a we landlord waka wasem kana eden aye kana na so wo hihye ne emebi e de si ho na bia wo abusuafie bia wo say every year bia wo de bibi beko ana wo de every year kwa posikeni ho ko so tua 10 cedis enti nkofo aye business na ade kakra ye ton company bia yetimi ka se we selewa na so tua $1 to show say there's been a contractual agreement bibia ko na bibia ba enti enfa ho sika ketweye. It is just establishing that a relationship exists. Enti wo de money pa krona o ye hia ni say den crowd they say every month every year no to 10 cedis to 10 Ghana cedis to 20 Ghana cedis on to bibi into your accounts and not sure say there's a contractual relationship it can be evoked in terms say na meet me aka ewo went me intim krata kakra bi pe a obetimi kra say wo ne dey wo say esimesi nhwe asase so ma o nhwe dan so ma which so na watcho we witness kakra e dey call commissioner of oath or I document as a contractor mo dey ato kwa let the person do something I bet sure say he owes you an obligation, a contractual obligation and a relationship be why
lawyer yeda sibebre na explanation o de ma sesi ana na me person ka me busa bibi te say papa na wo keye say ebi a papa no wo be a contract bi wo ha wo ko ekotua sika ne ade na ne ma na ya na most of the time omo ebe fight no ebi na papa na nka hwe a kire ne ba no na ne ba ni mo hwe na even papa no kwa contract bi wo kra na wo kotua bibi wo be bi kra na oye kra wo ma family ni hunu e na papa ni eni ho nti how do you claim say ade no wo be ba be claim say ye wo dia womra ne ba no oni mo even though papa no maybe no tuatua bibi so no ne ba ni mo hwe nti better na still our claim say ade no ye wo dia me das
and say na ye can say ebisibisa de but any ma ekokot pa ekokot na say na wo so aka me nua ba mpacho odin bio pacho odin ye dey
me pacho ye from ya
yeah na wo kan esi da emempem people wan hwe yi a obenya judge bi obeka say wo kata wani wo na nka ye wasede so enti nka na sese wo ka 10 years ago 5 years ago no wanka enti sese nkola no omo benya rights bi ewo asase ne so sese si a me mamu fanto kakra sebe okọ se okọ nkran gofo mutonton ade wo lorry kwan hu nyina wo de wo pan ena ade esi ho nkwa ne wo chop box bi si ho nkwa se wo ton ade de a World Bank hihye kire se okasa wo ba na wo ba betu omo a utue bibi de mo aye practice because ye fan say wa ba betina ho no nkwa de wanya rights bi e wa asase ni no enti aye anane kano aye kana kakra enti na ye keka aye na eno ana mesi akasa obebo modin ahwese na obeden abeye no afa wo nuanum binumu a aye anka obema eden obema omo akoho sese su de photo nyame aye adompa ma camera obi a phone camera wo so enti bia wo kwa ba ko bia obetimi akọ wotwa photo ede akire ede atoho Sa time no bia na onipa ko obe sorry etia akase o mede na mini papa we no ya akola enti bia photo kakra bia obetwa no ene be kire se wo me ba ha 1990 na efe na okọ nursery enye wuni a na sebe ebe onipa ko ni sampa na o kan no kra bi eyeden ewo mu but to protect your interest na as much as you can say na make no it doesn't need to be any long thing cra opa throw bibi kakra bibi kitwe bi one it doesn't matter that even the sheet of paper exercise book wa mutimi tu e wo hwa na oka se ene me auntie ya me see efo kwesi ontena sasi so opa betimi aka se ontena so after 5 years meba me ase abede nhihye fofo ya nye nhihye fofo kwa me ba anytime e be de nhihye fofo afi bia eno de moma ehia mo every time put in something ebeye obligation tina wo kan o si bia na we hu se ne papa ye bibisa hono na ya na court no e ma na ye din because eno chere say one establish tenant landlord relationship enti court no so entimi mfua so emfa ma but utimi establish ye nko dia no obi bo ho betimi di adanse so o afi bia no eya na efokwesi or the a bro bag ebre. It is evidence that there was a contractual relationship. And it is up to us now to try and do that. Yebabo modern say konfo ye papa no mu yenim so mototon sa si bebre gugu hono. Obonya su udu yesu moja kata ho a na wako. So we mi papa onoja hama mo na ade na so say me pese me ni mo be ye adwuma. Enti fiti ne kono mo de se mo didi bi kakra say afi bi ya mo fa kakra mfa nko ha. Wapenyansa kwan bi so that you establish a sexual contractual relationship with them. And yes sir, one hwe ya obenya court bi a judge ne ka che say won so was said there as landlord no wafo aso. Ne san se sebe ye nyina ya mbo ya fa sase bi aba. But ye beto asase anyakopon de ama yinti ono so only rights be in the land. And however it may be, no, you try and establish a certain form of contractual relationship, no matter how it may be. It is never too late to start it. So the earlier you start, the better. E bi so hwa na penyin bi wo hwa onu de onim nhihye ya wo potem ho kakra. Ebe also we na wona we na eyefu wa ha o na one we po na ebohye enti wunya panyi bi sa na obetimi ka abakọ sem na sa na obetimi de ne ka ho ma ebia sa hifio sa ebusu panyi no mo ho bobobuko kakra na se bi wa fro nipa kro no na maka with all the intent to say not immediately moving the person. You do it gradually. You establish the contractual relationship and then you say the fitina code say dear me say momo bedo abedru happy and say mema ana simesi nso abedo ha. A reasonable person should be able to understand and gradually now as say rights and now wo to me was as so and to maybe you nananu mo na do so sansa sikranya papa dia o firu anaiden aban nti omo adwin bi anom de beto ho na omo de wani die so aiden ama wo say asasiwa. I hope this helps you.
Amen.
Ede Pepacho Mami Jos Mr. Kote yenga wi ananke maybe some question kitu we bi
Mpacho koso
yo Auntie Jos yeda wase papa na mepacho masemene se eba se wusi fie nso na wunua etena fie ho enye se waja fie no every 1 year 2 years bi awoko wankasa wo makora wunua no ne nche na ote a woni mi se fie de wodu bibia etumi du ba bia wunua ni tumi claim se watena wo fie ache intino o claim fie no na nkasa one na mari ni kuru nyina akora no wo na wo hwe wo be say I don't know mpacho otumba so betuma claim say fie ni na dia na mpacho me question ne
You mpacho within biom
mpacho me din de Emilia
Auntie Emilia
you wo ma me ba papa ba
send a Bible kan ya David did one kaso say I was young and now I'm grown. I have not seen the righteous forsaken. But they in fact
yo
San America say ampa so be nyi ya no beka say na wo kan eya e masa eya eba papa na ya obebri ebi wo hasa na wo ka wankasa wonua ne hinti eden aba nti na wo kan de eba nkrofo nso eden eye enti na ebi wo so beka say na wonua nso ye eden na woni ne eden eye contracts and am signing documents Now Ben say one. Bomodin send a kind. It's ubia. Some say me telephone number ne was no. Consultancy fi kitwe bi pe utu eba ko ntribu. Na person be say bi odo utimi bi sam na ma kire chama na sese moye. Bomodin na wo documents e wo wasase so de din enaso. Din enaso. Na wo kan eba bebre. Wo koye search, or your site plan, or your search. No one say din bi enaso a. Where no bi akoye documents e wo so. Or bi akọ register. Mi hu bi e wo ho so. Enti bomodin wasase de wo as dan. Bomodin na ye ho papers. Bomodin na enko udin mu. Eko udin mu ba ko se ne de ene eda ho kra ma wutimi dem rasa na ya chechire mu no well edema na opese wodem anya bia nso yin na timi hu se na ya eye ebi wo ho na untimi nye documents no na ade wo water bill wo udin mu ko water we on na ko catch wo na we owner of the land assassin wo na we dan no ebi wo be bisa evidence kakra. Enti assassin kwa na woni hu papers a normally no property rate should be in your name. Enti sa ne man wo di mu you have evidence. Ebi wo was a permit kakra enti wo kwa o permit ebi wo wo need document kwa when you go to the Metropolitan Assemblies no they let you pay a small fee and then they'll give you permit for building even when you don't have the land certificate, although that is not the position of the law at all times. The here in American say, "Bibi obekura ashenso, bibi obekura na wo sweet me dey aka wasem electricity bill e wo wudi mu." Enti wo kwa sa na many na no you still look out for it to make sure it is still in your name. Enti ochine bi na odo e wo abusu ani mu ya na nepa ebi wo ho so a abrabo ni kodu baabi na nko nipa ko no spebe no nim so obetimi edu no ndu ho ya na efe di orapre enti edu sa amre na efe di so when your evidence be the akire say electricity bill no is still being paid in my name. And I say wa kwa kosisa crap wa you must have copies documents monya baby kakra bi suitcase briefcase kitwe bi o your be a parrot nice makeup box bi ne woman wotimi tum fine na fire then enwo ho wo sa ne man hihye mu kakra wotimi ka kire o baby say mo hwehwe ne me bi mo hwehwe me sa adaka yi daachi bi ne ho behia na se na me nsame kinds no bibia ebia ma wonua panyin bi enwo ho so miritu kwan minim time amaraba enti mi se mi nua bury me on an ere want na ha there is evidence, there is a witness. Na se o me wo mienu nko a na afia ye na wo kan na me so me kan na efi obi ni ho a orfo bi de so den ediso enti me se eno kakra na metimi aka wona we bisa no
yo me da se na me se wo no ma no maji mum na asem na me kan de terrible.
I know
if you need woman no kwara ti fie ho
ba
unu ti fie obi a me matre fie ho bi afat lon last no nu akuma wo a we see fie na wo show nipa ne ma na man nipa be fa ne ma ba wi a every 2 years bi aran so ba ne no mo shipu nyina wo su na esi afi di o se watre fie wachi to claim fie no ne dia when your lawyer so
lawyer they say be yen eduma ye didi hu na enye time a odipa ko na sem edimu ansa na yeko se be mrama ho kwan se obi okum nipa po onya lawyer
anyway
say when kum nipa no but they want to protect the person's criminal rights enti empacho se when your lawyer na menye odi okwa tutu adaka mu ahwe asem bi aka de aden e de aboa no ade kakra nso emi say meka about nsasesem no ho ne say eya yen hye ne nso ukosi dan wo abusua asase so a emremu ne yeka say wo just possessory rights wo ntina so tumi pe uko wachi a untimi fa ma wo patro American sisubio uko si dan wa busua saase so pa wonim say ha yem papa saase yen nana saase na uko si dan a wode bra wote ase na uko wachi a wuntimi ndan saase na mfa ma wo ma ni na be den abusua ede eno a customary practice a bo yejetum ewo Ghana enti se wo fie na adoi mu wabusua panyi bu so ye da waye mo bebre da bia wo kaye asase ne da we besi dan wo so men konkosi ni trala buso nana ene we de eni de mu a muntwa ma me na me hu na kope we surveyor na wontwa ho no fa ma na ye wudin fa to so enye sase na maka no mra kire se eho no busua de dan na wutimi tinamu se na ope no ukwa wutimi fa ukitum ko eba nanso ukọ wachi a wuntimi fa sa dan na nkase adan se isi asase so nti so the dan rere ma de na chese asase na so no re de what the dan ama obebi wuntimi enye ne sa. That is part of the the land laws in Ghana. Intimi ba cho wo hu se why ready so pese wo si dan anase wo ye bibia. Know the difference. So where me ye de acha abusua adoi de amawo anase mreye na me pese ya hyenso de na ochena bi me de amamema so wo hwe se wo budu sika kwa kohim a wo pese de mama wo ma eno mnena no ma wo modenga na wonye krata na abusua panyi no de wontintim so na enye wo de na ko register enye sa by law it is family land. But now we can say ebia na ye wankasa wasase na ebia na maybe anybody in the Bible kind where there is greed and strife there's every evil work. Into greed and strife abemuna odbakore ye no ye nti million pa jo timi frɛ na lawyer ya kemu semne kakra why
pacho mate
me say semre na kwa ye bitimi agyae nkomo no
yes
letimi aye na anytime mo say next week mo camp meeting na matriaso kakra na efe there are a bit of interesting things that you betini asanga keka ho na mo nsem bi so bisa na mo nua ni bi so a mo pese wo betie bia etini de ho abobo em se ne yesua kakra e de aka ho nti me se court say ebe ya nka em se ebejaw e wa ha how to draft immovable property no kakra ka ho a ye betini aye nti say next 2 weeks in a year and they agree time now we can continue now yet near tria and communiso.
Me that was say lawyer so that we can next 2 weeks next week the into me share it's a meeting it next 2 weeks and yeah that was say so yeah me ama ho kana we that first I didn't church this year am na busu afo ne na man so busy here na se be went man twa me wo metimi dia wo frame a me sana mana mema na wetumi afre na komo bia odia so na edi o ma me yeda wase pai na busu afa mo balai na ya me nhira mo ebe ne mini sa la ya wo fa na to do person ka mama wakonya oni su a na media ama aso peni binim se Lawrence wo so a oni su dia na no mama sister ya abompa ehira osune so na edi medi abawi nti la so wo fa na to dia mama wakonya dia mama ma abo
And say a best atria nkomo no so bi oni nti no em se betimi abompai na na de aka no ye de aye no na
Mama Rebecca mpacho bibi kana
Yo, any pamucho, you have a bomb na lawyer. Joyce.
Mama Rebecca mpacho ebe semwe meeting ho kakra so ana se opese okasa bia Mama Rebecca kosa mpacho
I'm so nimsha no one na you know into momo me enkoso chino Mama Joyce di nyame da wasepa ewo nimdie so kon odi amawa also one ache ne ache ya da was megidi se ye ne etie nyina no ye ne adofo nso so ebeche na obi wo ensemisa bi efa ne awachechire yi ho a ya na afi no yama ye no edi enkomo na afi said your opinion di kan no so no Yonkodoradio ewo so know, obi pese or share obetumi akọ Yonkodo YouTube ho no share na afoforo nso so etumi etie. Obeto tie bi mo so a obetumi akọ ho na obo enso so etie. Enti sam ready na ye bompaye. Na nyame o mada wasepa wo ekwan sonko a wonam ye ma me Joyce so na afei wabekire yen nneema bi a efa ensase eni nyapade eni afei well kwan bebre so no ya na yedi hofo hyehyɛ pa wose ye efa saa enyapade ensase ne de kekeka ho yi ho no eduru bi a yintumi enye ne saa eni ntino ye bidu na bi a woto nsa frɛ ne a na ye echi no akwakoye basabasa tokwa ne echinie eni niema bi a ense emfata emprempi so no ya na ye nim niema ne bi enti ne ya na eme yenye enhyehyɛ pa no enti ye nei wonam ma me Joyce so na se wode nsem sei ebre ne a na ɛwɔ sɛ aseda kɛseɛ pa ne de ma wo nyame ne asrɛw sɛ emra ye tin nsɛm yi no emeye mu nua enwu ya so na emom ne yatie bia no yentumi emfanya dwuma ne yenye enhyehyɛ pa ɛbɛboa na ɛde asodue bɛba emra yɛte ase ene emra obeto onsa afrɛ ye nyina ye de maame ɛhyɛ onsa one na busua nyina ye so se hwehwira wo ona koma so ade bia so nyame ani a wo hwehwɛ no ye sro se wadom fadom wo mo emra ye free la iswe ne ye de nyina ye ho hyɛ onsa so se boy en ho ban na hwe en so ye free wo haw musuo ene esan ahodo nyinara mu ye da wase so tie fisie bisa ewo Yesu de mu amen.
Amen. Amen.
When me dem wase ebesenge hia.
Yo, ma me ya me sure be. Now what you ni send na be share. Yo, ena mo bibia mespa.
Say didn't to me. The who are him no.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.